The dilapidated walls of St. Agnes Asylum stood tall, looming over the desolate landscape like a haunted specter. Once a place of healing, it now echoed with the ghostly whispers of the tormented souls that had passed through its doors. Amelia, a daring journalist with a fascination for the macabre, decided to investigate the asylum's eerie reputation. Armed with only a flashlight and a camera, she entered through the rusted gates, the creaking sound sending shivers down her spine. The air inside was thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the occasional distant creak or a faint whisper. As Amelia ventured deeper into the heart of the asylum, she noticed faded murals of smiling nurses and cheerful patients, now distorted by time and neglect. The dim light cast eerie shadows on the peeling wallpaper, creating a surreal atmosphere that seemed to warp reality. A sudden cold breeze made Amelia shudder, and she felt the temperature drop as she entered the long-forgotten psychiatric ward. The air became suffused with an otherworldly energy, and the oppressive silence was interrupted by a soft murmur, like a chorus of lost souls pleading for release. Ignoring the growing unease, Amelia pressed on, guided only by the flickering beam of her flashlight. She reached the decaying remnants of the hospital's morgue, where the metal drawers stood like silent sentinels, each one hiding the secrets of the past. The air became palpably heavier, and Amelia sensed a presence lingering in the shadows. A faint voice echoed through the corridors, calling her name. Whispers grew into haunting cries, and the walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Amelia's heartbeat quickened as she stumbled upon a forgotten room, its door ajar. Pushing it open hesitantly, she was met with a scene frozen in time. Dusty hospital beds lined the room, and old medical equipment lay scattered across the floor. In the center, a flickering light revealed a figure hunched over, facing away from her. It was an apparition of a nurse, her uniform tattered and stained. Trepidation clawed at Amelia's senses as she approached the spectral figure. The nurse turned slowly, revealing hollow eyes that seemed to stare into the abyss. Her voice, a ghastly whisper, recounted tales of pain and despair that permeated the very walls of the asylum. Amelia, paralyzed with fear, listened as the nurse's story unfolded, a tale of unethical experiments, misplaced trust, and the dark secrets hidden within the asylum's history. The tortured spirits sought acknowledgement, their voices rising to a crescendo that echoed through the desolate halls. In a moment of terror, the walls themselves seemed to close in on Amelia. Shadows danced menacingly, and the air grew thick with the anguish of the forgotten. Desperate to escape the haunting symphony of souls, she raced towards the exit, leaving the asylum behind. As she crossed the threshold, the whispers faded, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. St. Agnes Asylum returned to its silence, waiting for the next curious soul to brave its haunted corridors and unveil the chilling stories hidden within its walls. The moon hung low in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the abandoned St. Mary's Hospital. Its once white facade now bore the scars of neglect, with shattered windows and ivy reclaiming the walls. An unsettling stillness hung in the air as Emily, a nurse seeking closure from her past, stepped through the shattered entrance. The air inside was heavy with the scent of decay, and Emily's footsteps echoed through the empty halls. Flickering fluorescent lights cast long shadows, giving life to the hospital's long-forgotten memories. She clutched a faded photograph of her sister, who had mysteriously disappeared within these very walls years ago. Emily's journey led her to the decrepit maternity ward, a place once filled with the sounds of newborns and the joy of new life. Now, it whispered only sorrow. The flickering light seemed to dance in rhythm to her pounding heart as she approached the room where her sister was last seen. A faint cry echoed through the corridor, chilling Emily to the bone. The cry of an infant, unmistakably. She pushed open the door to find a room frozen in time, a solitary crib in the center, bathed in an otherworldly glow. A spectral figure, a nurse in uniform, cradled an ethereal baby in her arms. Tears welled in Emily's eyes as the nurse turned to face her. The nurse's eyes were empty voids, yet they conveyed a deep sorrow. Without words, the nurse extended her arms, offering the spectral infant to Emily. The child's cry grew louder, echoing with an unearthly resonance. As Emily hesitated, the walls seemed to close in, and the cries transformed into anguished wails. The room contorted, revealing faded images of clandestine medical experiments, of lives cut short and promises broken. The nurse's ghostly visage pointed accusingly at the hospital's dark secrets, demanding justice for the forgotten souls. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, Emily accepted the spectral child, cradling it in her arms. The cry ceased, replaced by a haunting silence. The nurse's figure faded, leaving Emily alone in the room of revelations. Leaving the maternity ward, Emily felt an invisible weight on her shoulders. The hospital, once a place of healing, had become a vessel of anguish. As she stepped back into the desolate corridor, Emily vowed to expose the hospital's gruesome past, to bring closure not only to herself, but to the restless spirits forever trapped within its walls. The silent halls of St. Mary's whispered their secrets, waiting for the world to acknowledge the horror that had unfolded within its forsaken corridors. The wind howled through the broken windows of Mercy General Hospital, a desolate structure standing as a testament to the passage of time and the shadows it had concealed within its walls. Lucy, a young nurse on her first night shift, navigated the dimly lit corridors, guided only by the flickering overhead lights and the occasional distant hum of failing machinery. As Lucy walked through the echoing hallways, the air felt thick with an oppressive energy. The hospital, abandoned for years, seemed to pulse with a dark history. Ignoring the ominous atmosphere, she focused on her duties, checking each room in the empty ward. One door, slightly ajar, caught her attention. The room beyond was bathed in an eerie blue glow emanating from outdated medical equipment that somehow still flickered to life. Lucy hesitated but pushed the door open. Inside, she discovered a forgotten ward frozen in time. Dust-covered beds lined the room, and medical charts lay scattered on the floor. The air felt colder and a chilling wind swept through the room. A muffled sob echoed, leading Lucy to the far corner where a lone bed remained. On the bed lay a patient, an emaciated figure hidden beneath thin, tattered blankets. The patient's hollow eyes met Lucy's, and she felt a surge of sympathy mixed with dread. The patient's weak voice whispered tales of an experiment gone wrong, of pain endured in the name of progress and the darkness that had consumed the hospital. As Lucy listened, the room seemed to come alive with the tortured spirits of patients long forgotten. Shadows danced on the walls, morphing into grotesque shapes that mirrored the anguish etched on the patient's face. The air became thick with the stench of antiseptic and despair. In the midst of the haunting revelations, Lucy realized that the patient's hand bore a name tag, her own. Shock and terror gripped her as the truth unraveled before her eyes. She was trapped in a spectral loop, reliving the horrors of the past. The patient's ghostly visage pleaded for release, and Lucy felt an inexplicable connection to the tortured soul. Driven by fear and empathy, Lucy sought a way to break the cycle. Racing through the hospital's echoing halls, she uncovered hidden records and long-buried secrets. The hospital, once a place of healing, had become a graveyard for the forsaken. In a climactic moment, Lucy confronted the malevolent force that bound her to the ghostly patient. With a final, desperate plea for mercy, the spirit dissipated, and the hospital fell into an unsettling silence. Lucy, now alone in the abandoned ward, felt an eerie calm. The hospital, having relinquished its spectral grip, stood as a relic of horror and tragedy. As she exited the forsaken building, Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that Mercy General would forever be haunted by the echoes of its dark past.